So yeah, Richard, on pruning, like we just saw there, you've got different facets of pruning, different recipes that you give the guys and so on. Yeah. Basically, how do you do your pruning here?
So the first thing we'll do is we'll come in and we will skirt.
Yes.
And that requires quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have 12 to 16 people in that team. The more there are, the quicker you get through it.
Yes.
Skirting, it just neatens everything up. It just allows enough light through to the bottom. It allows us to take away any dead material. We push everything in the middle ready for mulching. So that's the first part we'll do. The second part, which is something that I know some guys don't do, but for us, we have quite a lot of regrowth. And within a season,
filling your row,
your windrows will close completely. And so what we'll do is we'll come in with a tractor on a lift. We'll have a guy high and a guy low, and they will work down the line with a pneumatic prune. So that's the second part of the prune, and that opens up quite a lot. You'll be surprised, talking about your percentages, that's quite a lot of material that gets taken away.
Yes.
And I find if you don't do that, when you push your spray rigs throughout the season, all that's doing is hitting that material and you're not getting your sprays in effectively. So that's the second part that we'll do. And then we'll come in and we'll do basically we'll find areas where there's dense regrowth, and we will remove a branch out of that. And then, like we've just seen now with the guys working on some height.
Yes.
And depending on which orchard we're in, this is quite a dense orchard, so we've had a lot of work going through here, but you'll find a lot of the people will overlap, but you need people who know what they're doing in certain times. So for example, skirting is pretty easy. You don't have to have massively skilled labor, but it does take time, and you need to make sure that they've got the right height, because you can't say prune knee high and you've got a 6'4" guy and a 3'4" guy. So you have to find a balance. We'll use a pole, and they'll actually work to that stick line. The guys who are on the pneumatic prune, it's not rocket science, but it does need to be done properly. And then when it comes to any serious cuts, you need guys who know what they're doing. And so we found the best way for us is to train a few guys who understand what we want. We'll work with them for days on end in a new orchard until they're ready to go on their own. And then in the past, what we've gone is we've actually gone and shown them which branch to cut. But it takes a lot of time. That's why we're using that laser which you saw now. It just takes the confusion away. The guy knows exactly which branch to cut and he goes with it.
Okay. So you've got a multiple discipline process, and how many people you've got roughly in the pruning squad that we just saw, where they actually uplift the density and the tops?
So for that team, we'll run 2 pneumatic pruners when we go, and we'll move through that. We'll probably do, depending on how dense it is, between 1 hectare and 3 hectares a day. So we can actually move quite nicely with that prune. When it's a team like that, you need guys who know what they're doing. You can't have people just making indiscriminate cuts anywhere along the tree. So we've got 8 guys with hand saws who know how to cut and where to cut. And then we've got 2 guys who are actually showing them exactly where I want them
which
to
branch,
cut.
yes.
So we've got 10 guys who are quite skilled there. We've got another team of guys pulling out. And then we've got guys, obviously specialists on chainsaws. They're cutting up the bigger material. The bigger stumps and that, the branches we'll put to the side. We'll come through later and we'll chip that straight under the tree to get back nutrients there. And then you saw the women and men, how they were stacking. They'll stack it, we'll come and mulch that. And then after that, we come with a discharger, which actually pushes that material back underneath the tree.
Okay, that's nice, yes.
It's, a prune is not an easy thing. It takes time, and you can actually see we're always fighting not wanting to start too soon, because then things go into vegetative stages, but you don't want to be pruning too late and cutting away flower or damaging flower.
So luckily you touched on that thing, that part of when we actually prune. So normally we don't want to go too early, like you said. I think normally if the guys, you want to start in May, end of April, when the night temperatures drop, and then you don't get that regrowth. And like you just said, we're in August, the flower is a little bit early this year, but we see the flower, and now when you cut flowers, you see your crop is...
It's panic station.
Yes.
But the benefit of the prune outweighs the loss of a few flowers.
100%,
and I always bear in mind that, what percentage of flower actually get pollinated and actually develop. So
Yeah.
we can afford a few branches going with some flower, but it's far better than not.
Yeah.
Not doing
So a
anything.
process like that, I think a lot of growers don't actually budget for pruning.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the, halfway through their pruning, they actually run out of
Yeah,
money and
there's-
cash flow problems, and then they say, look, let's just prune some orchards, not everything. Is it one of the things you actually
Yeah,
you actually
we
budget
do
for,
budget
and
for, yeah.
it's actually quite expensive.
And for us, you know, we'll bring in labor to help with the easier parts of it, but it's fuel, it's diesel for machines going, it's chippers, it's mulchers, you know, tractors with pneumatic pruners. So you've got 3 or 4 tractors running for a long period of time, and just that on its own is expensive.
Yes.
You know, let alone chainsaws, pole pruners, and we all know where fuel's gone to. So it's an expensive process just on that side, let alone labor.
Yes.
You know, you've got to put aside enough skilled people that they are dedicated to that for that period that you need them to prune. And again, you know, these are big orchards. There's always going to be more maintenance here, but I'm convinced even on the small orchards, if you do it properly from the start, you shape the tree correctly and it's a much more manageable thing. So for us, pruning is critical, and it's as important as any other facet of the industry.
Thank you.